to be here tonight and to have the opportunity to address this group again. For those of you who are new to this community or who did not attend last year's event, last year I gave a speech about my decision to become a volunteer at Children's National and how that decision was informed by my experience as a patient at another hospital throughout my childhood and adolescence. Tonight, I have the fun challenge of not delivering the same exact speech twice. So I apologize to those of you who are fans of a particular story that I like to tell. There will be no anecdotes about Pringles tonight. It will not happen. But fear not, I have no shortage of material, I assure you of that. Particularly this year, which Fernanda touched on a bit and which I will explain further in a moment. But first, a quick recap of my medical history. I am a 3-time survivor of childhood cancer. I was first diagnosed when I was 6 months old with malignant tumors in the retinas of both of my eyes. As an infant, I underwent a month of radiation treatment. Then, when I was 12 years old, I developed a bone tumor in my right sinus. I endured a year of chemotherapy as well as a 14-hour surgery to remove the tumor. That surgery also required the removal of my right eye, and I have worn an eye patch ever since. From there, fast forward about 2 years, I was 15 years old and a freshman in high school when I was diagnosed with cancer again. A single cancerous cell from the tumor I had had in my sinus survived the surgery and the chemotherapy. It traveled through my bloodstream, lodged itself in my heart, and grew until it was detectable on a routine chest CT. I had bone cancer in my heart. I underwent successful open heart surgery, followed by another year of chemotherapy to prevent the same thing from happening again. All of that brought me to just after my 16th birthday. And last year, when I spoke at this event, I shared with you all that I have been cancer-free for more than 12 years. That was particularly exciting because for me, that was a personal record. But it didn't last long. On December 23rd, 2015, almost a year ago, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. Since then, I have undergone 3 months of intravenous chemotherapy, a 7-hour surgery, and I am now nearing the end of an additional 6-month chemotherapy regimen that was added onto my treatment plan after surgery. I expect to be done with treatment next month. Fingers crossed on that. Throughout the ordeal, throughout this year, I have maintained my full-time job here in DC while also commuting back and forth to New York for treatment at the hospital where I've been treated since I was an infant. It's been a long year. There have certainly been moments when I've been tired, when my stomach hurt. There have been times when I've been frustrated by what I'm going through and fearful of what it might mean for my future. But somehow there's always a but there. This year has also helped me to appreciate the medical challenges I experienced as a child. I'm grateful for what I went through as a kid because of how it shaped my development, my perspective, and fundamentally the person I am today. For me, it's simple. When I think about the time I spent on the pediatric floor of my hospital, I don't remember fear or anxiety or pain. I remember the people. I remember the community that I became a part of and that was there with me every step of the way. I remember in the year 2000, staying up until the wee hours of the morning, watching the Subway Series World Series on my hospital room TV with, I won't ask which side you're on. And as I watched doctors and nurses and other hospital staff popped in and out of my room to check on the score. This was before iPhones. The game had gone into extra innings, not unlike what happened earlier this week. Didn't help with fatigue, thank you very much. But they knew that I would be watching. And I remember on another occasion, the doctor who fudged the rules a bit. He snuck me out of the inpatient unit, brought me down to the outpatient clinic so that I could participate in an improv theater performance in the playroom that day. He knew I enjoyed acting and simply wanted to give me a chance to shine. I remember the nurses who offered me tips on Thanksgiving recipes when I realized I would be out of the hospital and home for the holiday. For some reason that year, I decided it would be a good idea to cook the entire meal by myself. That was a horrible idea. But they were there to help. And I remember the hospital volunteer who sat at my bedside as I watched the premiere episode of the very first season of The Apprentice. I want to make one thing very, very clear right now. That is not a political endorsement. Like negative. But nonetheless, that volunteer and I, together, were exposed to the horror that was not only Donald Trump, but Omarosa. If y'all remember that. While we also discussed my experience with chemotherapy and what, at the age of 15, I hoped for my future. Looking back, I've realized it's the people who made up my hospital experience that transformed that experience for me. They took it from something that could have otherwise been scary and overwhelming and painful, and they turned it into something wonderful. They comforted me when I needed it, but they also reminded me that my life didn't have to change just because I had cancer. In that space, even though I had cancer, I was encouraged to continue being a kid. Whatever that looked like. For me, it looked like being a diehard Yankee fan. How we doing over there? It looked like being an aspiring actress, an amateur chef. Still a bad idea. And it even meant being a fan of trashy reality television. That one's still true. This year, as I've slogged through chemotherapy and recovered from surgery and struggled, believe me, struggled to manage the unique challenges of working while fighting cancer, I've often found myself thinking about the girl I was when I was 12 years old. I think about what I experienced and what I learned. When I was 12, I was up against a more serious diagnosis, a riskier surgery, and a much less tolerable chemotherapy regimen. But I pulled through. Thanks to the people who surrounded me, I was able to stay positive, I didn't complain, and I never forgot to laugh or have fun. I'm excited to be here tonight because each of us in this room has an extraordinary opportunity. Each of us has the opportunity, quite frankly, to change lives. And I don't say that lightly. I'm a good actress, I'm not that. For many of the patients and families that we serve at Children's National, the experience of being in the hospital will shape them. And we have the chance to make sure it shapes them for the better. Every time we stop and blow bubbles, or play Uno, or simply smile at a patient, we are creating their hospital experience. In those moments when, even if just for a moment, we distract them from what they're going through and enable them to have fun, we are teaching them a lesson so important about strength and resilience we are letting them know that the circumstances that brought them to the hospital don't have to be the circumstances that define their lives. Those circumstances don't have to stop them from being a kid. I know you all know this. I'm preaching to the choir tonight. But that is exactly the reason why I am excited to be here to thank all of you. I know you don't hear it often, and so I'm going to say it tonight. Your service, your commitment to the children and families at Children's National is making a difference. Thank you for volunteering. Thank you for coming here tonight and allowing us to celebrate you. On behalf of all the patients and families out there, including those whose lives you've already touched and those whom you'll meet in the future, tonight I raise my glass.